Hi, Libra Rising, Libra Ascendant. All right, here we are. This Ascendant series is fun. I hope you're enjoying it. If this is your first one you're watching, welcome. And also, if that's the case, I just want to mention that we're going to be looking at this from my fancy pizza chart that I made. And I'm just going to be taking, I guess, my creative outlook on it, what I connect to. Sort of working around the whole wheel, but I am sort of basing this, the foundation of it has to do with, since basically from what history tells us, the beginning of astrology, Taurus was the first, right? The first house, starting with Venus. Really beautiful. You also, Libra, are ruled by Venus, so it's actually a really wonderful place for you to be, right? And actually, for those of you who follow tropical or Vedic, any nowadays astrology, you would think that you have upside down chart, right? But actually Scorpio ascendant does. So just something to think about, that you're different, right? Libra ascendant, you're different. But not as different as you think. Let's see here. So let's start with you, the self. Well, you believe in love, you know? I mean, of course, there could be other aspects in your chart that kind of, or life experiences that can halt you, but I really feel like you deep down think that anything is possible. You feel like anything is possible. You're probably a really big helper also. You want to help people so much, right? But I see this life, the first and foremost place for you to be is to love yourself, right? Double Venus. Just like Taurus, right? Double Venus. You have to know how to love yourself to be able to love others. Until you love yourself, relationships with other people will be challenging. There will be more disagreements. There will be more power struggles, you know, things of this nature. People could definitely see, like, how you communicate. Like, sometimes you're coming from a very loving place, but people take it, somebody else had this too, people take it all the wrong way, right? It's almost as if you have to learn how to speak more softly with yourself so that you can speak more softly with others. And sorry. Just a second. I actually saw some of you like to, you like talking dirty too. Like, you may like talking dirty, or like dirty talk when you're having sex or something like that. Like, you're not as, you're imperfect, right? And I feel like Libra Ascendant must know that. And so it's okay for you to be wild once in a while. It's okay for you to express yourself in a, like, kind of wild way, like a very, because usually Libra, like, wants to keep it chill, right? Not too this way, not too that way, trying to keep it always here. But like Libra Ascendant has to do something where you have a bigger voice, you know, or you don't really act like a Libra, even though that is yourself, and what you truly seek is peace and balance, right? And again, I guess if you're trying to find that in life, then you have to start with yourself, right? I see that your mother has a huge energy. You also probably have fire siblings. I see that your mother was already, this is interesting, for some of you, your mother was already a mother when she had you. Like her hips had already expanded, right? Like it's like there was already energy that happened in that space wherever you were created. And maybe some of that you hold on to emotionally. Things that your mom didn't digest exactly. Although I think this life is something where you end up having those conversations with your mom. Like you teach her how to communicate in some sort of way. From this more loving place, maybe to be more loving to herself because you learn how to be loving to yourself, right? Just a second. I see that your father's solid in the sense that he provides financially. He may not be there emotionally, exactly, but it's like, even if you say you lived with your mom and you just saw your dad part-time or something like that, it's like he would be the kind that would like pay child support, you know what I mean, and like give on birthdays and like these technical days that you're supposed to, like he always gives you a Christmas present, he always gives you a birthday present, things like that. But again, the emotional or like different kinds of conversations that you would like to have that are more like, I guess you just have to understand that about him. It doesn't, and I heard it doesn't mean that you have to restrict any kind of love towards him. It's just accept whoever he is. I also see the reason why your dad is like that is because of the mom that you have. Like the mother's fiery and the dad is more grounded in a kind of way. Let me see here. You're a little afraid to jump sometimes. Some of you may choose not to have children. It depends. You may, it may be later in life. Kind of like Cancer Ascendant. It's like later, a little bit later in life. Saturn in your 7th house, later in life, right? Or maybe if you end up having like children are in your life, it's like children of your family, or you end up marrying someone or getting involved with someone who already has children from a previous marriage, something like that. I actually see you would be a really wonderful step parent, like it would make something a little bit different because of the non-definition, right? There's a little bit of space in between, so it gives this different kind of growth, and it makes this sort of a different vibration of love in a kind of way. You could probably, if you're around children too, you may not realize that you are and sort of talk like an adult when you're around kids, but I need you to sort of be aware of that because they absorb everything that you say. I see especially Leo children. Interesting, that was very specific. So you have karma with Pisces and Libra strongly. But I sense for you, you actually, it's beneficial for you. Like there's, cause sometimes we have friends, we have good enemies, we have bad enemies, right? And we owe all of everybody that's been in our lives. We were either owed something or we owed them something. We cleared some sort of cash, right? And so I see again, Libra people, and Pisces people are beneficial for when they come into your lives, it's because you did something good last time. or you're clearing something out, but whatever the exchange is, it's very positive and it's expansive, and it actually brings a lot of love into your life, a lot of like appreciation for who you are and like what you think is important, some sort of reaffirming there. You are definitely picky with who you are going to be in a relationship with, like, which is good for Libra, I feel like, just the energy of it overall. But you are picky. It's like, I see you have to be smart. You have to have like a good head on your shoulders. You have to be able to see with your eyes, right? You, if you weren't up to some sort of like, maybe even spiritual level, depending on where you are, you would kind of, at some point you could have very high standards. But it's good because, again, I see again, having relationships that are more, that have less conflict as you move through life, right? It's like less and less and less conflict. But I do see while you're younger, it's kind of like you're just butting heads with yourself about, or with other people about what you think and what they think. And I feel like neither one of you like moves about it. There's a stubbornness until you get a little bit older. Or because I think what it is the ones that didn't work out, it's like you couldn't go anywhere, right? You just smashed into each other. It's like, that could also be it too, where you have like, you do something really quick but then it's just over, right? But it's more so where I think originally when you start out in life, you're attracted to people who maybe you don't know who you are yet, so you end up attracting people that you either want to be or need to figure out that you don't want to be, right? And that isn't you, and who are you, and all of that. And once that is known, then really the conflict is it's just completely, you can just see the mirror in other people, you can see yourself in other people, and there's just like this enlightenment, and it's easier then for you to communicate like the love that you have for people and the love that you have for yourself, and it's just easily communicated. You could be sort of back and forth about God a little bit. Like you're trying to figure out, like maybe some of you were like religiously put into a place via your family, right? But it's sort of like when I keep seeing like a dad in the family with the son, and the mom likes to go to church, but the dad really doesn't, but he goes because the mom wants to go, and then the kids have to go because the mom wants to go, and the dad goes along with the mom, whatever. Not that he doesn't love God, but just like there's something about it that feels a little bit like forced, but it's not, you can find God anywhere, you know what I mean? You can find God in the birds, you know, if you want to. You can find God in your own breath. You know what I mean? But I feel like somebody put you in a technical structure, and so you may rebel. Like if that did happen, you probably would rebel in some sort of way. Not that you would go into like being an atheist exactly. I mean, some of you perhaps could go that way, but I doubt it. I doubt it, because I sense that you have this spiritual knowing of you, right, within you. Like what it really all means somewhere in there. And so I guess you have to have like a bigger conversation with yourself, probably a couple times in life, to sort of figure out what God is to you. And it may change as you go through different stages. Like I feel like they're like Saturn stages. So maybe every 30 years you sort of change something. You go into like a different kind of level of it. And what's really cool is most people end up going back to nature, which I really love, in some way or another. You know, finding God again, like just like finding God in your breath, you know? finding God in your hands when you create things, finding God in the ability to like touch things, right, and participate with it, feel it, and I see, and also having the ability to be able to let go of things that you no longer hold exactly or used to hold, and being okay with that. Like that's just part of the process, right? That some things get washed away to sea. And that's totally okay. I see most of you would be in perhaps the medical field. I see the like medical health, healer, helper kind of fields. And it would be something that you communicate. Some of you could be counselors. Some of you could be therapists. Some of you could work with like children, maybe work for orphanages or something like that. DHS, you know, Department of Human Services, something along these lines. Maybe even like women, like domestic, specifically, I feel like you'd work with more women too. Interesting. You could potentially want to work from home also. Maybe you have some sort of home business, or like, because wherever you work needs to feel like home also. And that's where I'm seeing this, maybe trying to figure out what these skill sets are, because I know you love giving information, and I know that you really do care about people so deeply, right? You feel for the world. I know that you do. And it's like you want to hug the whole world. That's really sweet, Libra Ascendant. Right, like if you could make it better, you totally would. But I guess that's why Venus is doubled in your first house. So you have to love you first, right? That's a real big lesson. I see you being real tight with your friends. Like you're once somebody's your friend, and really it has to be somebody who totally gets you, like as a person, like when you're saying things and like your passion for it, right? Because again, you're Libra, but you're Libra Ascendant. And I see that sometimes when you talk about things, like you have this really big passion about it. Maybe bigger than like a Libra Sun would. It would depend what, I guess, their Ascendant is, but something like that. Because I feel like sometimes you have a tone about you that would be bigger or louder, but that doesn't exactly express like anger or fear, right? It's just like excitement, and someone needs to know what that is, and also sort of be able to point it out to you sometimes, because you don't even realize it until you, of course, become more in tune with yourself. But yeah, whoever your friends are, that you finally call your friend, and again, you express your love to them. Like, your friends should be empowering. If the people that you're around, Libra Ascendant, if you're hanging around people and you're wondering whether they should be your friend or not, you should really check in. Like, does my heart feel like good and like bigger and fuller and warmer than before I arrived, or is it drained? You know, if it's like hard to have a conversation, you just like can't seem to get it out. Again, you like butt heads. It's like, well, I mean, learn from them. What can you learn from them, right? But that may not be the friend for you, because you may actually have sort of secret enemies that you don't even know that you have sometimes. And the only way for you, it's hard for you to figure out who your enemies are. Like because we have hidden, right? The 7th house is known enemies. The 12th house is hidden enemies. And that's also having to do with who you date. Maybe originally you date your enemies and you don't realize it because you're like, oh, la, 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 we can love everybody. I totally, you know, you pull like a Libra move, like, oh, I can put myself in your shoes. I understand why you're doing that or why you do this. And da, 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 da. But it's like, it does teach you how to forgive, which is good. And it teaches you how to have more peace in yourself and how to be more peaceful with other people. But I see you got to use your head. You know what I mean? You gotta really like pay attention. It's not about being paranoid, but it's just like, if you're calm, then you can absorb everything that's around you, right? Like if you came to listen to this reading and you were anxious about this placement or something, or like a person that had this, it's like it would be harder for you to absorb it, you know? I see with Virgo in the 12th house also, you could have a hard time digesting I guess overall in a kind of way. And so you could be a very fast eater too. So I see that you should be very intentional when you eat. Okay? Like slow down when you eat, sit down when you eat, take off your jacket, right? Relax, take off all the armor, okay? And sit down and pray and be grateful for your food. Smell it, right? Before you just dive in. What are you putting in there? Right? And I guess this goes for information too. Because again, if we're calm, then we digest it accordingly. We can get the most out of it, right? Let me see here. I definitely see you being a gentle healer. Like, whatever you do, you know? I forget who else had this, but you give information. You know what I mean? To help people. That's part of what you do. But I see that you have to work on your throat chakra so that you're soft enough to be able to have people absorb what it is that you're saying. Right? Slow down enough, right? Just like that digestion. I really feel like the mother and the father has different interpretation. They both believe in God, but like in their own ways. And maybe that's what would happen in your relationships too. Like, how would you feel about that, right? Like, a Pentecostal isn't necessarily with a Pentecostal. It's like, could a Buddhist and a Christian be together? Things like that. It doesn't always have to be the same. That's important to remember. Just a sec. You probably feel very responsible for family. Could take you a little bit longer too to build a family of your own if you did want it. And again, I see some of you may wait a long time. Either because you're picky or just, again, you end up butting heads or whatever, like the timing's off or things like that. But I do see you having a family. And it's a soul family too. But I see you actually having like kind of a family of your own. But it's, again, where there are children from other places and other people. They're not exactly yours, but like there's still like no difference between it. And that's teaching you some kind of awesome lesson too. Could definitely be some sort of counselor. Helping people find peace. It's a good title. One second. And that's actually really beautiful too, because Taurus's title was Peace on Earth. Peace with Earth. And you're helping people find peace. So, and you're both ruled by Venus, so that's really awesome. And again, I guess if Libra's the natural helper, then you really do have to find peace in yourself first, and everything else just goes so much more smoothly. You know, more swimmingly. It's like there's more buoyancy, right? It's easier to float. It's easier to coast. It's not as frictional anymore. It's not as combative, right? And of course, when this energy is within you better than your environment is like that, right? It's more calm. It's more settled. It's happier. It's content, right? Awesome. These are such neat readings. I hope that you enjoyed this, Libra Ascendant. I guess we could also, I haven't mentioned this to anybody else, but I noticed that a lot of people don't give much information to the descendant. So this is also what would be an Aries descendant. So thanks for teaching me. Aries, Libra, Aries. All right. I love you so much. Please take care. See you later.